Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn, and in this video, we're going to give some more feedback on speaking with Nora's speaking test. So let's jump straight in. Good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
Good afternoon. My name is Nora IELTS. You can call me Nora.
Okay, thank you, Nora. Now,
Yeah.
in this first part of the always when there's online, there's sometimes a bit of a delay and sometimes you speak over each other. But okay, let's get into the test. I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. What town or city do you live in?
Well, I live in northern part of Uzbekistan. It's called Jizak. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Enough of an answer. And do you like living in this place?
Yes, I like because I was born there.
So notice this, yes, I like. In English, we tend not to repeat the main verb. We tend to use the auxiliary in short answers, right? Do you like living there? Yes, I do. Are you living there now? Yes, I am. Have you been there for a long time? Yes, I have. Not, do you like it? Yes, I like. So that's just, is it a big problem? No. Does it show some slight lack of awareness? Maybe just a little.
All of my relatives and all of my close friends are there. So
Cool. Relatives, close friends, great vocab, clear pronunciation, all good.
I enjoy living there.
Cool. And again, short answer, to the point, but clear. And are there any parts of the town or city that are busy at the weekend?
Actually, countryside is kind of busy place.
So now I'm getting confused, right? Countryside is kind of a busy place. Now, I asked the candidate what town or city she lived in, and she mentioned the name of a place, but I don't know. But then she says countryside is kind of a busy place, and I don't know if she means her village or the countryside in general. I'm just not sure.
At weekends, especially
Oh, at weekends, fine.
in the spring and summer, because in the scorching hot of the city.
In scorching hot of the city, again, grammatically, I'm not quite in scorching hot of city.
Everybody wants to avoid it, so that's why.
So I guess, and I've listened to this a few times, I guess what she's saying is people in the city find it difficult to stay there when it's so hot, and so they tend to go to the countryside. I guess, but it's not really clear. And do you think you will continue living in this place in the future?
Actually,
Two answers in a row now where we've had actually. That's okay. We want to make sure that we're using actually appropriately and not just using it as a random word.
yes, I will, because as I mentioned about all of my relatives, all of my clothes are living there, so
All of my clothes are living here?
sorry. Actually, yes, I will, because as I mentioned about all of my relatives, all of my clothes are living there.
All of my clothes are living there. Close friends, maybe. But notice the candidate is also speaking, I think, too quickly. This often happens when people get a little bit nervous, and when they do the speaking test with me, I try to have 5 or 10 minutes chat at the beginning to try to get the candidate to kind of calm down a little bit of an icebreaker, bit of a chat. But still, many people feel nervous when they're being recorded, for sure, and when they know that a video will go up on YouTube. But we have to control the pace of our speech. Just because we're nervous, we have to find a way to slow down our speech. Just notice, just feels a little bit fast.
Actually, yes, I will, because as I mentioned about all of my relatives, all of my clothes are living there, so I don't want to just move and feel kind of homesick.
And this is kind of, we see this a lot, that people have like super fast speech and then they stop and break down. What's your favorite film? Oh, my favorite film is Star Wars, because it has it's almost like the brain needs that time to catch up. So I don't think it was like crazy fast, but you don't need to spit everything out as quickly as you can. You can relax a little bit and you can still score, top marks for fluency and coherence with slightly slower speech. Let's move on now and talk about mobile phones. How often do you use your mobile phone?
Well, I guess we cannot imagine our life without our mobile phones because
Okay, cool. We cannot imagine our life without mobile phones. Very nice. But how often do you use your mobile phone? I always like, the direct answer first. Very often, always, not that often. I like the direct answer to the question first and then the extra detail, because then I find that easier to follow. You don't always have to do it like that, but I think that's an easier way of approaching it.
it's yes, it's integral part of.
It's yes, it's integral part of our, and again, just the sentence stress is just slightly lacking.
So we cannot imagine our life without our mobile phones because it's yes, it's integral part of our life. So
It's an integral part of our life. It's an integral part of our life. It's integral part of our life. So, candidate, the stress timing is a little bit off there, and that's caused by such a fast rate of speech.
I can definitely say
I can definitely say I, and you can see she's getting out that I can definitely say I, and then she has to take a pause. Whereas if she just relaxed a little bit more, I can definitely say that I use my phone very often. Slowing down your speed a little bit, I think, will help you to be more fluent.
use my mobile phone 24 hours a day. Yeah.
Okay, so a bit of hyperbolism, hyperbole. Here we go. A bit, yeah, 24 hours a day, fine. And which apps do you use most often?
Well, nowadays I'm quite busy, but I used to use.
Why I used to use, nowadays I'm quite okay. But I understand nowadays I'm quite busy. I used to use, but that is still kind of off topic, isn't it? Because she's just said that she uses her phone 24 hours a day. So if she uses her phone 24 hours a day, she must access some apps regularly. And so when I ask what apps do you use, and then you say, oh, actually, I'm quite busy, but I used to use, I think, well, it's kind of off topic because I'm asking you to talk about the present time, what apps you usually use. And your last answer, you said that you use your phone all the time. So why are we talking about the past? It's just not so clear.
Again, social media, Telegram, Instagram, in order to get information and
Cool. In order to get information. Okay, get information is not very precise. It's not very detailed. You know what? Get information about what? You're talking about getting in news. You're talking about getting messages from friends. You're talking about like getting information from your university. A bit more detail would be nice.
just messaging instantly. Yeah.
Instant messaging, not messaging instantly. This is a great example of like vocab that is used to relatively good effect, which is clear, it's understandable, but it's, imprecise, not quite right, or a little bit awkward selection of vocab. And how old were you when you got your first phone?
Well, I was 18 years old when I got my first phone.
Cool, we get a nice direct answer. Now, hopefully, we'll get some development.
I was 10th grade at school. Yeah.
I was 10th grade. So, not I was 10th grade, I was in the 10th grade. And it's not enough of an answer, right? I was 18 years old. I was in the 10th grade in school. We need development. We don't need crazy long development. And, if it's just one or two questions, it's not going to hurt you too much. But, you know, I was in the 10th grade at school. What type of phone was it? What did you use it for? Was it a smartphone? Was it like an old fashioned phone? Did you use it for calling people, for texting people? What color was the phone? What brand was the phone? Did the phone have any games on it? Did other people have similar phones? Was this, 18, is that a normal time to have a phone for people in your country? Or is that like a bit late or a bit early? All of these are extra details that you could give, and they're not complicated, right? I was about 18 when I had my first phone, and I think, this is quite old, especially compared to people nowadays, because I know some people who got their first phone when they were just like 6 or 7 years old. Fine, development, clear. And does it annoy you when people talk on their mobile phones in public places, like on a bus?
Um, it depends. Sometimes I feel neutral because
Again, I feel neutral. Meaning is clear, but I feel neutral. It's a bit strange. I don't mind it. That's probably the best one. I have nothing against it. I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. I feel neutral is a bit strange.
it's their job, it's their own mobile phone. Maybe they are dealing
It's their job. It's their own mobile phone. Of course, it's their own mobile phone. I don't get that point. It's okay that they speak on their phone in public. Why? Because it's their own mobile phone? I don't quite understand that. Sorry.
with kind of serious problem, or yeah, that's why
That's fine if it's their job, if they have a serious problem, that's okay.
I don't care at all.
I don't care. Yeah, maybe that's okay. Better than neutral. I don't care. I don't care feels a little bit, negative. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. Now let's talk about birthdays. Do you like celebrating your birthday?
Yes, of course, because
Like the enthusiastic response. Yes, of course. And this is good intonation.
it's an only party I wait for whole year.
Okay, grammatically, it's an only party I wait for whole year. So, it's the only party I wait for the whole year. Just slightly off with the grammar. Certainly not at that C level for grammar.
And of course, I get kind of
Like this use of kinda. I get kinda. That's natural.
presents, gifts,
And I don't like that. Like presents, gifts. Presents and gifts are the same thing. Presents and gifts are the same thing. I get presents, gifts,
and also wishes. So it boosts
and wishes. A bit strange, birthday messages or birthday wishes, maybe.
our mood.
It, it boosts our mood. So she's gone from speaking personally about, how she likes it to it boosts our mood. And then she's speaking general. And it's not quite clear if she's speaking personally or about people in general. In part one, speak about yourself. You don't need to speak about whether it boosts people's mood in general. I also, boost is just one of those words when I hear it, I just think, I don't like it. There's nothing wrong with the word boost. I just feel like it's overused by IELTS candidates. It boosts my mood. Maybe I'm too old.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
Okay, so again, development. There's an attempt at a bit of development, but could go into more detail. And how did you celebrate your last birthday?
I celebrated my last birthday
Did you get that past tense there, celebrated? Because it is, past time. And how did you celebrate your last birthday?
I celebrated my last birthday
I hear it as present. I celebrate my last birthday. That's what I hear. I didn't hear I celebrated. I didn't hear that ed ending.
with my friends, close friends, in the camping.
I celebrate my last birthday with my friends, my close friends, in the camping. Again, it's a bit odd. I went camping, or at a campsite, maybe in camping. Again, it's understandable. It's just not precise.
Because I really I was dreamed of.
I was dreamed of. Yeah, again, that's quite a basic thing with grammar. When do we use the verb to be? When don't we use the verb to be? Quite basic. I dreamed of, or I was dreaming of, but not I was dreamed of.
Celebrating kind of birthday party there, and yeah.
I'd also say, especially if you're online, probably better not to do this. I know sometimes we do this, but probably better not to do this. But it's okay. Examiners won't judge you on your body language.
I celebrated my birthday with my friends.
Again, so we get repetition of idea. Candidate can keep going a little bit, but there's not deep. She doesn't dig deeper into the subject, and she often has to repeat ideas. So I celebrated with my friends. I know you told me that before. You don't need to tell me that a second time. Yeah, and again, some details. How many of you were there? What did you do there? Why did you decide to go? Okay, she mentioned she had always dreamed of it. Fine. Yeah, yeah, a few more details would have been nice. And do you remember any special birthdays you had in your childhood?
Um, yeah, one of my friend
One of my friends, plural, one of my friends.
may organized birthday party,
So we get may organize. So a bit of reformulation.
and it was really interesting for us because
Love this. It was like pronunciation is so nice. It was really interesting, like dropping that T. It was really interesting. Nice.
she invited
Invited. Don't quite get that V. We've seen this many times with candidates from Uzbekistan. They have difficulties with the V and the W. They often mix them up. So we get words like visit and invited instead of visit and invited. Just notice it here.
Disney organized birthday party, and it was really interesting for us because she invited
Here it invited.
Disneyland kind of characters.
She invited kinda Disneyland characters. I think she's trying to say characters, but I don't know what it means when you say that she invited Disneyland characters. What does that do? You mean like people dressed up as Disneyland characters? Because you can't invite you can't invite the actual Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Goofy and the other Disneyland characters. What does it mean when you say that your friend invited the Disneyland characters? I don't know. People dressed as them, maybe.
So we all enjoyed. Yeah, that's
And again, we all enjoyed. Enjoy is a transitive verb. We like to have an object with it. We all enjoyed ourselves. We all enjoyed it, but not we all enjoyed without anything. That's probably an L1 transference error where, I know the Russian verb naslаждаться, that's intransitive. That can be used without any object, right? Мы наслаждались without any object. That's fine in Russian. I don't know about in Uzbek language. But in some languages, words like enjoy, they don't need an object. But in English, they do. Again, it's not a critical error at all, but yeah, it is. These things can build up.
why I like it.
And how do you think you'll celebrate your next birthday? So I didn't really get why it was so special that birthday with the Disney characters. I didn't quite understand really what happened there.
Actually, I'm planning to
Back to some more actually, so just be careful with that.
celebrate my next birthday overseas
Game get that overseas. Just that the V is very soft.
because I'm planning to study abroad, and I guess I cannot celebrate my next birthday with my closest.
With my closest. Again, candidate seems to think that closest is fine as a noun. It's not. With my closest friends, with my nearest and dearest, we can use as like superlative adjectives behaving as nouns. With my nearest and dearest, but not with my closest. So we don't use that word closest as a noun. With my closest. And I will say, that answer again. She expands a little bit, but certainly she could expand and give more details. But the problem I have with this is now, as the examiner, or just as the human speaking, I'm thinking, well, earlier I asked you if you were planning to continue living in your hometown, and you said yes, you have no plans to leave. And now when I ask you about your next birthday, you said you're planning to celebrate it overseas because you're going to study abroad. So I'm just a bit confused about those two statements. So, it is okay to lie in the IELTS test. There's no problem with lying. Many sources, many resources actually encourage people to lie. The problem with lying is that you need a good memory if you're going to lie, because you have to remember exactly all of the lies that you've told to make sure that the other bits don't contradict. Whereas if you're telling the truth, there shouldn't be any contradictions. Yeah, so I'm just a little bit confused by that. But okay, I don't mind so much. Okay, thank you. All right, so that's the end of part one. What can we say? Pronunciation, really, really nice. There are times like the V and the W, a little bit strange. The pronunciation of Disney and characters, that was a little bit off. But candidate can be understood with ease, despite some small mispronunciations. Uh, Candidate does show instances of good intonation. It's not always sustained, but there is good, really nice intonation there. Phonological range is really amazing. Yeah, she sounds, almost quite American-y. Accent has no effect on intelligibility, on how easy it is to understand her. So pronunciation is definitely her strongest point. There are some instances with stress timing, because sometimes she's speaking a little bit quickly like this and she just stresses the wrong word in the sentence, but okay, not a big problem. Pronunciation, great. Fluency and coherence, there are noticeable breakdowns and reformulations at times, and it is clear that sometimes she speaks too quickly and then she has to slow down, and that interrupts the flow of speech. For me, the critical error is really the lack of development. Some questions are just noticeably underdeveloped, and I got through a lot of questions with this candidate. Yeah, so answers were just a little bit short. Grammar, kind of around that, kind of around a low 6 right now, where she controls basic grammar well. There are some attempts with slightly more complex structures, like I can't imagine not having a mobile phone or something like that. Some complex little structures like this, and mixed success. But there are some noticeable mistakes, like I was dreamed, which is a bit strange, and one of my friend in the singular. Those are quite basic things, and I hope we don't get too many more of those basic errors, because if we get too many basic errors, then that brings your level down towards a 5. For band 7, we expect, frequent error-free sentences. But I think with this candidate, there are errors appear quite often. In almost every sentence, you can kind of hear maybe there's a missing article, or she uses the singular versus plural, or there's some small problem with grammar in most sentences. Vocab, I would say, so far is sufficient for the task. She has some good stuff like relatives, and then she has some weird stuff like I am neutral about it, which is, it's okay, but not quite natural enough for that 7, but certainly sufficient for the task so far. Probably strong 6 for vocab so far, weak 6 for grammar, probably around maybe strong 5, maybe low 6 for fluency and coherence so far, but that pronunciation is at band 7. Anyway, let's see what the candidate needs to do in part 2. She needs to describe a TV show or a series that she likes. Okay, cool. Lots of chances to activate good vocab here. Yeah. Can you see the topic?
Yes.
Let's just skip forward. Sorry about that. You know when the time is up. Okay, here we go. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yes. Well, I guess everybody has their own favorite TV shows
Great way to start.
or kind of series.
Series, not series, but series.
So do I.
So do I, and so do I is better. But I like this. So do I. That's good.
I used to like.
And now again, when we asked about the mobile phone, what apps do you use? She said, I used to use. Now when I'm asking her about, her favorite TV show, I used to watch. And it's like, why are we going into the past with I used to? Very often we use used to show how the past is different to the present. Like I used to work in an office, but I don't anymore. I used to eat meat, but I don't anymore. So it's weird that we're going into the past here when the task asks us to describe a TV show or series that you like, present focused. Don't know why we're going into the past.
TV show called Ladies of Uzbekistan. It was about.
Again, it was about. Again, it sounds like it's a historic thing.
Modeling.
Modeling, not but modeling.
And
Like clock. not like phone modeling.
fashion and this kind of and also kind of beauty. Yeah.
Beauty? I remember writing that word down during the test and thinking, beauty? And I guess she's saying beauty. You know, American English, that t will soften to a d. Beauty, beauty. British English, we have the hard t. Beauty, beauty. But beauty with a R? I don't know. Sounds. I was confused at the time.
And this kind of and also kind of beauty. Yeah.
Beauty. Um, yeah, and Candace doesn't seem massively fluent. She seems to be struggling a little bit already.
The models attend on this kind of on this.
And usually, I think like B1s usually go for about 30 seconds and then run out of steam and break down. I thought the candidate would last a bit longer. She's really struggling here.
Show and the judges were the models and how can we say.
And of course, as every examiner in the world really feels terrible when we can see a candidate struggling. Now, of course, as an examiner, you have to remain professional. You have to remain poker faced. You know, we can in part two, if the candidate is really struggling and breaking down, we can step in and ask another question to help the candidate to keep going. But just from a human point of view, it is always awful when you see somebody struggling like this, because in many cases, you know people have prepared a lot, and people are feeling nervous because it's a test, and you kind of want to. I don't know, maybe it's the same for other examiners, but I kind of want to like turn off the tape and say, like, it's okay, it's fine, don't worry, I understand that you're nervous, like, please don't worry about this, let's start again. Unfortunately, we can't, and it's a horrible thing. You have to do it in one take, you have one chance, and that's it. And if you mess up, then you have to pay your money again, you have to go through the whole process again. I know there's the one skill retake now, but yeah, and it's tough psychologically to see someone struggling like this, because I know Nora speaks English fine. We chatted before the test, we chatted after the test, and I know that she is better than this person that's trying to get through this part two. She's just doing what sometimes humans do. She's overwhelmed by the nerves and the brain freeze, the situation is just getting the better of her, and she's breaking down, and it's a pity. I think that's certainly an underrated challenge for IELTS, is like, can you keep yourself together psychologically? How well can you avoid breaking down? Think of it like a job interview. There are some people that just can't do job interviews because they just get too nervous, or your driving test or something like this. It's tough. It's tough.
Famous models and yeah.
And why do you like this show so much? So I'm trying to step in. I'm trying to use the friendliest possible intonation. Like, what? Why do you like this show so much? I'm trying to give a hint, like, it's okay. But of course, the examiner has to take this into consideration. We can't think, oh, she's nervous, she's probably better. We can only judge what is given, what the language that is produced in the test. And so, I'm thinking of this as a human and thinking, poor Nora, I know she's better than this, but as an examiner, I'm thinking, yeah, candidate can't keep going without breaking down critically.
Because I when I was a kid, I was dreamed of.
Again, we get that I was dreamed.
I was dreamed of.
Again, we get that I was dreamed. So this shows that it wasn't just a slip the first time, that the candidate really doesn't quite understand how this verb to be works. Or maybe she thinks that dream is an adjective or something like this.
Becoming a fashion model. So I guess I really liked it. That's why. And in In this show, judges used to judge all of the participants according to their preferences.
Okay, used to judge the participants according to their preferences. This is, accurate and complex grammar.
What kind of clothes they choose and how they wore makeup. So
what kind of clothes they choose in the present and how they wore makeup in the past. So again, we get some, despite an accurate bit of complex grammar, we get a bit of confusion over what time she's talking about. Present time they choose, or wore past time. Bit confusing. So, English grammar is complicated, like grammar in all languages. But as a minimum, being consistent with time and tense, present time, past time, future time, we would expect higher level candidates to have, really good control over that. We should never be confused with a higher level candidate. We should never be confused like what they're talking about in terms of time. We should always know they're talking about the present, they're talking about the past, they're talking about the future, and not from the context of like adverbials, words like yesterday or next week or things like this, from the verb form. So we need better control of the verb forms.
That's why I used to watch it Unstoppable.
And notice now the pronunciation has become a little bit more mechanical. So now her nerves are affecting her stress timing. So notice how at the end she kind of sounds like this.
Preferences, what kind of clothes they choose, and how they wore makeup. So that's why I used to watch it.
That's why I used to watch it. You can hear it, right? That intonation has gone now. The stress timing has gone. Now we are syllable timing. Syllable timing is in languages where you speak like this, like French. Je suis désolé parce que c'est un très grand problème. I don't know. I don't speak French anymore. I used to, but I know it's syllable timed. English isn't, it's stress timed. But all of that's, don't worry, stress timing, syllable timing, only linguists care about it.
Unstoppable.
Okay, thank you. So you've been talking. Okay, so thoughts on part two. The biggest problem, of course, is that critical breakdown. And because the candidate there wasn't a lot of volume of speech, you can't really award solid marks for vocab because, there just wasn't enough language there to say, oh, that was like good C1-ish stuff, or that was precise, or that was natural. There was some natural use of language, but just not enough use of language in general to award anything high for vocab. And with grammar, some again, just like part one, mixed success with complex grammar, but some noticeable mistakes with quite basic grammar. Let's see part three. About this TV show that you like. Let's talk about film and TV in more detail now. What kind of TV shows or films are most popular in your country?
Well, I guess Turkish series are really popular in Uzbekistan among women and
Good, popular among women.
girls as well. Because we
And notice she wants to finish it there, and girls as well. And it's like she wants to finish, and then her second brain is saying, like, come on, Nora, develop. Because, and then she's trying to develop. So candidate can speak at length, but you can see that there's noticeable effort to, she doesn't speak at length with ease. She speaks at length only when her brain tells her, develop, develop, develop. Just, I don't know, you tell me. It looks like that to me.
Turkish series are really popular in Uzbekistan among women and girls as well. Because we all like Turkish actresses, and the way of they wear. Yeah.
The way of their wear, the way they dress, maybe.
That's
and do the men in your country also watch these kinds of shows?
Sorry?
Do the men in your country also watch these Turkish dramas?
Actually,
Back to some more, actually, just be careful.
men don't have enough time to watch TV series.
That's good. Don't have enough time to watch TV series. Again, that's quite a complex structure. Okay, it's not earth shattering, but we get don't have negative, enough time, good use of enough before the noun, and then infinitive to do something. Have enough time to do something. Don't have enough time to do something. Natural, accurate, good.
Shows, yeah. They just because they are breadwinner and
Okay, they are breadwinner. Either they are breadwinners or they are the breadwinner, but good vocab, but grammar slightly off.
I guess they don't have enough time.
Let's game have to repeat that idea. Some people say that the quality of films and TV shows nowadays is getting worse and that they were better in the past. What do you think?
I think so because people, I guess, just capturing the movies or
No. Shows in the past were better than shows today because people just capturing the movies.
yeah, capturing the movies getting easier, and anybody who are not educated can just capture the movie.
Anyone who are not, also anyone who is not educated, can just capture a movie. I don't know if that's true, and I'm not. There are many professional movie makers and TV series makers nowadays. Um, I don't think there's a problem with the lack of education among movie makers, is there?
And yeah, just publish it. So I guess yes.
And I think the candidate recognizes that this is maybe not the most substantial argument in the world. You can you can see some negative body language, and again, this will not count against you in the test. As an examiner, I feel bad when I see people who are struggling emotionally like this. But yeah, I don't think it's I don't think it's a meaningful response or a an argument to explain why TV shows in the past were better than they are now.
It's getting worse day by day.
Okay, so she reasserts the position. It's getting worse day by day, but I don't understand the argument that explains what is worse about them or why they are getting worse or why they used to be better. And how do you think movies in the future might be different?
Sorry?
How do you think films or movies in the future might be different?
It, I guess robots are replacing people.
Robots are replacing people now or in the future? Because I'm asking you to make a prediction about the future and you're using present continuous. Robots are replacing people, and that's, not, we don't use present continuous to make future predictions.
Humans. So I guess in the future we're gonna see
Okay, now we get this. In the future, we're gonna see. Cool. Gonna absolutely fine for predictions.
kind of robots, AI instead of humans. Real
But more detail. What do you mean here when we'll see more robots and AI instead of humans? Do you mean as the actors? Do you mean as the directors? Do you mean as the filmmakers? Like what? Bit more detail.
humans. So
Oh, and I think I asked that question. Do you mean like as the directors or as the actors? Oh, well done, Glyn. Well done.
yeah, we are.
So I always like to dig in more. Sometimes I feel like candidates just give, quite generic responses without going into detail. And when I hear something generic, I like to ask for more detail just to see how, how the candidate responds.
We are generating everything through anything through AI. Yeah. So I guess in the future we will not need any directors or this kind of stuff.
I still can't quite imagine. I still can't quite picture the future world that Nora's speaking about here when she says, AI and robots will do everything. I don't know if it means that, there will be robot directors telling robot actors what to do, or if, people will go home after work, or even if they work, they'll go home after work, they'll turn their computer on and they'll write to an AI and say, like, hey, AI, make a romantic movie featuring Leonardo DiCaprio and Cameron Diaz, put it in Paris in the 1920s. and then AI will generate that movie for us. Is that what you mean? If it is what you mean, explain it. Let's talk about interesting characters now, then. So, what makes an interesting character, either in a film, a book, or a story?
Well, I guess evil characters make it interesting.
So, a candidate says that evil candidates make it interesting. And I think, well, what do you mean by it? Maybe you mean the story, the movie, but the question is the question is not how do characters make stories interesting. The question is what makes an interesting character, right? So what features in a character make them interesting? Are we talk do you know is it something like courage, like being brave? Is it something like being kind in difficult situations? Is it about being super smart? Is this what makes characters interesting? Is it about, the way that they communicate with other people or manipulate other people, perhaps? So again, Candace just hasn't really explained the qualities. She's just saying like evil characters make stories interesting. Okay, but what makes an evil character interesting, right?
In books and also films, because the all kind of genre of the genre could be kind of boring without evil character. Yeah.
Okay, character instead of character, but okay. So she's, all genres could be boring without evil characters. I don't. For me, that just seems like the candidate is trying to use the word genre. Sometimes people think, oh, genre is a good word to use. I'll just, they all genre, and it's like, well, I don't know if that's the appropriate usage, and we haven't got to the heart of the question. And what do you think is the best way to show an interesting character? Is it in a book or in a film?
Well, I guess on a book, because sometimes I feel kind of more impressed by while reading books rather than watching films, because
Cool. While reading books, nice while plus gerund.
sometimes actors cannot express and deliver the whole message of what writer wants to give. Yeah.
Absolutely agree. I think you get to live that internal world of a character when you read a book, and it's not quite the same when you're watching a movie. Agree.
So I guess that's why I prefer books, and yeah.
And what do you think are more? Yeah, I mean, candidate explains her idea reasonably well here. I still think it's quite a short answer. Interesting fictional characters or real life ones.
It depends, yeah. Some people prefer watching fiction movies or books.
So this isn't about do people prefer watching fiction movies or books or not. It's about characters. Which characters are more interesting, fictional ones or real ones? Can real characters, people in real life, in history, in the present, are they as interesting as people in fictional books, right? If you have like a character like, I don't know, Raskolnikov, who is more interesting, Raskolnikov or Dostoevsky? Who is more interesting, Iron Man or Steve Jobs, right? But that's the thing, that's the question that we should explore here.
And some people hate it, and they think that it's just unreal, and
So, candidate is talking about reasons why some people don't like fictional books and films, but that's not on topic.
they don't take it serious. So I guess
They don't take it seriously.
most of the lovers of fictional books or films are kids.
I don't think that's true. Most of the lovers of fictional books and films, I mean, are kids. I don't know. I don't think that can be true, but okay.
Yeah.
And do you think it's possible for us as people to be inspired by fictional characters?
Yes, of course. It
Nice intonation again. Yes, of course. Really nice. Really nice.
inspires, it motivates, especially kids, to do kind of heroic, showing off kind of heroic characteristics, or
Cool, heroic, nice word.
saving the world. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Thank you. That is the end of the test. All right. So, yeah, again, slightly underdeveloped answer, but kind of answers the question, but not in great detail. But okay, let's get to some marks here. Where am I? Yes, there we are. So fluency and coherence. It's a tricky one to start with, but I am going to go as low as the 5. So while you answer many questions directly, it is noticeable that you often fail to go into detail. You also go off topic a little too much. You know, we shouldn't go off topic at all, but you know, there are like 3 or 4 questions where I think maybe that's just a bit off topic. Go off topic a little too much. It's also clear that you had difficulties keeping going in part 2. You needed like the examiner to step in and ask that follow-up question because you had a critical breakdown. So for me, fluency and coherence is at band 5. Lexical resource, I will say, is at band 6. So you showed off some nice vocab like heroic and relations and things like this. There were some other nice bits of vocab in there too. However, quite that is visible, right? Let me just make that a little bit bigger. Yeah. However, some of your vocab choices were a little bit, well, were unnatural, let's say. Remember, there was like, I watch it unstoppable or something you said, like without a, you mean like I watched it without any break, or I binge watched it. So sometimes there are, and you'll probably remember many times during this video, I said, it just doesn't sound right. I kind of understand what you mean, but that's not quite the vocab, like I am neutral about something. So quite a few instances where the vocab isn't really that precise. Also, due to some of your answers being short, this deprived you. Do you know the word deprived? I don't know. This stopped you from being able to show all of your range, I would say. Yeah, so I think 6 is probably fair there. Grammatical range and accuracy, that's the trickiest one here. That's the trickiest one. Can I say that the candidate controlled simple grammar? Yeah, I think I just about can. I'm going to go with grammatical range and accuracy 6, but this is a weak 6. So you controlled simple grammar fairly well, but there were still a number of errors with basic grammar. You know, verb to be, past simple, singular, plural. You know, quite bright with one of my friend instead of one of my friends. You know, those errors were quite common. The thing that saves you, I think, is you did use some complex structures to good effect. And I think, you know, without the complex structures, I might think, well, maybe you're closer to 5. But I think, yeah, there is just about enough in there for that 6. And for pronunciation, I think I can award 7. I think that's fairly easy. So you can be understood very easily. You have a wonderful phonological range, except maybe the V sound and sometimes the the sound. Sometimes those sounds kind of get away. You use some good intonation and some good features and some features of connected speech. When your fluency breaks down, your stress timing suffers. So in short, sometimes when you're a little bit nervous and you're a little bit freaking out, then you kind of start to speak like this a little bit more, kind of. Yeah, so overall that gives you, quite easy to score that, overall that gives you a score of 6, the middle of upper intermediate. Now, I think the candidate probably, if I think of the language that she knows, she's probably better. Oh, she's probably better than a 6. Really, I think she's probably borderline B2 C1, probably. But areas to improve. So again, always keep the question in mind and make sure that you address it fully. You have to develop a little more. Control your time and tense better. I'm not saying, use past perfect or use past perfect continuous or use, I don't know, like is known to have been doing something. I'm not saying that, but at least control past simple, present simple, present continuous, the basic things. Have to control those things a little bit better. And also, you need a strategy to fill at least 90 seconds in part 2. To me, I know you've taken IELTS before, and I know, you've practiced with a teacher and things like this, but to me, it's quite noticeable that you don't have a strategy for getting through this part 2. If you're breaking down after like 30 seconds, that's a clear problem. And so by strategy, I mean that you understand how you're going to take the notes, and you understand how those notes are going to help you fill the time, and you understand how you're going to break up, the introduction and answering the 3 short questions and answering the long question, that you can extend those so that you're not just saying everything too quickly and then running out of steam. I don't know if you have a strategy and the strategy just failed this time, but it looks like you don't have much of a strategy for part 2 and you need that. There are many different strategies, and I'm not saying that one is absolutely the best. I like my strategy of direct answer, develop, direct answer, develop, direct answer, develop. But okay. So yeah, overall for me, band 6. Certainly there could be an examiner that doesn't like the grammar and thinks maybe it should be band 5 and might pull it down to 5.5. I expect the candidate in the real test, if she can keep it together psychologically and do a bit of improvement with part 2, I would expect her to get a score of 6.5. Don't know if she'll get this. I don't think she'll get the 7, but I think 6.5, is a realistic target. And I know her IELTS exam is coming up very, very soon. Yeah. So yeah, for me, 6.0, middle of upper intermediate, B2, decent attempt, very nice pronunciation, but clearly the nerves are affecting your English and really have to develop a little bit more. Those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm too strict, if you think I'm too generous. And also, if you'd like to be a candidate on this channel, if you'd like to have a free practice speaking test with this level of feedback, or if you'd like me to check your IELTS writing, I get all of my candidates from my Telegram channel, Expert Examiner. A link to this channel is given in the description below. More videos coming soon, but for now, bye-bye.